But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven.
We're living in a time we're going to meet Yahweh Shai. You're going to meet him face to face, which is proof also that we have to be changed. We can't meet the Lord like this. He's going to change you, he's going to crown you, and he's going to toast with you. Sometimes when Akim are among each other, we'll do little small toasts. Brothers may be like La Yasharala, holding up cups. But imagine the Lord himself hosting it, man. And we join in. And I was reading something else, and pretty much they said in order to have what they call a loyal toast, you would use wine. That's the beverage of choice. And once again, our Lord, he's coming back. And we're going to see him with all that power, man. But he's going to extend that power to you.
The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with God. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who hath subjected the same, in hope, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groaneth, and travaileth in pain together until now. And not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body.
And once again, when our Lord returns, he's going to wield that power to you elect as well. Once again, he's going to change you, he's going to crown you, and he's going to have a toast with you. A kingly toast, which will basically be a celebration for victory over the beast, victory over this system, victory over Edom Rome coming back, and Edom Rome's mark, which will be that Karag. So we're going to celebrate with our Lord Yahweh Shai, and honestly, there is no telling what all he has in store for us.
Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, dealing with another morning news and prophecy, all right, and how this devil, he's at war with everybody. Esau, Edom, because, as he, is bringing the squeeze on society, or the spirit, is putting the squeeze on him. Okay, so what we see with the devil, he's getting extremely tacky. Okay, the way that he's going about trying to establish this new world order. Okay. because hey, the pressure's on. You know, the scriptures say he see it. Matter of fact, let's just get into some precepts. Okay. When you go to the book of Revelation 12, okay, and 12, okay. And the Lord, you best believe that the Lord, all right, is mocking this devil, okay, first through the prophets. And then there's a lot of things that's happening in the spirit behind the scenes that has this devil, you know, moving, okay, in a particular way. So you go to Revelation 12, and 12 said, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Okay, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. You see, and see, we're in the spirit of rejoicing, you know, because as the scriptures say, you know, we want the will of the heavens to come to the earth. You know, we are citizens, you know, of heaven, of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. Okay, and we want to see the righteousness that's in the heavens come to the earth. And we know that this is part, all right. This is a phase that's necessary before that, for that to happen. Okay, this devil has to be rooted up, and it's going to be through this third world's war that this devil's rulership is uprooted out the earth, man. Okay, the rulership of him and all right his underlings, these other heathens, man. Okay, and this devil, all right, there's you see how he's moving. Okay, he's moving with a sense of urgency, like he's being rushed. Okay, because hey, he know that he doesn't have forever to try to pull this off, and he's having a hard time lifting this thing off the ground. Okay, this is he bit off, you know, more than he can chew. All right, trying to imitate and be, you know, the Most High in the earth. Okay, now you go here. Okay, get this word short. See what it goes into.
Strong's G 3641, oligos. Oligos.
Oligos. Okay. It says a little small, a few, a time short. It says of degree or intensity. Okay, of degree or intensity, man. You see? So this devil, you know, he's under intense pressure, you know, to try to pull this off. All right. And what we're seeing, okay, that this man is just losing it, and he's just waging war on the earth at the same time. Okay. And the scripture say he's gonna be like a madman, you know, sparing none. And they're speaking about domestically, man. You see? So when you look at, you know, how this devil is moving, you can tell, all right, that the Lord has this man stirred up and he's agitated. Okay? Even when you jump down, you know, it says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, so he's pissed. Okay, and the woman represents the remnant of Israel. Okay, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keeps the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach. So this devil, you know, he wants to wage war, all right, on the prophets, the believers. You know, he wants to wage war, all right, on the kings of the east, you know, Russia, Iran, okay, China, okay. This devil's at war with the earth, man. You see, the Lord has this man stretched thin. You know, what that was one of the reasons of the fall of Rome. You know, the military was stretched too thin. Okay, so I got a few videos I want to get into. All right, and this first one, let's go here. Play a couple minutes of it. Let's get this. So we know, all right, that Trump and this guy Pete Hegseth, okay, just had a meeting, okay, which they turned the Department of Defense to the Department of War. All right, and the guy, you know, there's the leader Pete Hegseth and Trump, okay, had, you know, a lecture, okay, to their generals, their top officials of the military, okay, pretty much, all right, and drilling them, you know, to prepare for war. Okay, and this is a war with everybody, man. You see, yeah, the empire is taking on the earth, you know, and it's finna go back. All right, so let's go here.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul from Off Grid Desert Farming News with Paul and Adrian. This is September the 30th, 2025. I want to welcome you to our broadcast tonight. This is emergency alert for more than one reason. We are about to go to war, not only with Iran, Russia, Venezuela, but also with the American people. That's right, folks. Trump has declared war on the Democrats, on the left, and is going to authorize the U.S. military to use Democratic cities as a battleground, as a training area. So we've been predicting this a long time, civil war, at least 2 or 3 years. So has all the other major YouTube channels. That actually Trump is going to initiate a civil war in America. And that is one reason why all of these generals were in Quantico, Virginia today, not only for a pep rally, but as we stated in our last 2 videos, that this is a sign of loyalty, that these generals that assembled today, they're going to be asked, are you loyal? Are you 100% loyal? And there are going to be, in the coming days, you're probably going to see some of the names filter out of generals that have been fired that will not agree to attack our own American citizens. This is what this is all about, folks. Go back 2 videos ago, we talked about this, that one of the reasons they wanted to assemble these generals in person is because Donald Trump is going to ask them point blank, when I give the order, what will be your answer? It doesn't matter what order I give, what will be your answer? And he only wants to hear, yes, sir, right away, sir. That's all he wants to hear. No matter whether that order is to attack China, to attack Russia, to attack Venezuela, or to attack Chicago, Atlanta, Georgia, LA, California, San Diego, California, Portland, Oregon. When Trump gives the attack order, he doesn't want anybody to say no. So, folks, we are living in very, very dangerous times.
So just to make the point, what he was saying, in that meeting, it was pretty much a loyalty check, between his top generals. Okay, because the Trump administration, the elites, are turning Trump into a dictator. Okay, a Hitler 2.0. You see, and he's checking, okay, the loyalty of his generals to see, like he said, whether I give the order to attack in Venezuela, okay, which is an illegal war. Venezuela has done nothing, all right, to show itself to be a threat, all right, to American sovereignty, okay, or to American homeland, okay, or to American troops abroad, okay. So he's pretty much telling his generals, look, are you willing to break the law with me? Okay, when I give the command. You see, whether it's a war with Russia, with China, whether we go back to war with Iran, okay, whether we help the small hats in Gaza, like, are you willing to, or whether we, like you said, whether we go to Atlanta, Memphis, New Orleans, wherever I give the orders, will you be loyal to that? Okay, so that's pretty much, that meeting. That's what that meeting was all about. Okay, because this devil, I say, he's waging war with the earth, literally, man. So that's just one thing. Let's go to another video. Okay, because let me get this precept. All right, because this man, Esau, in his mind, especially over here in the West, all right, this beast system, Esau think he finna whoop the world, man. Okay, he thinks that he's about to whoop the earth, man. Because the Lord, has allowed this man, to have this power. Okay, but it's no different than when the Lord raised up Pharaoh. Okay, this is Exodus 9:16. All right, and it says, and in very deed, okay, Exodus 9:16, and in very deed for this cause have I raised thee up, for to show in thee my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. So Esau has been raised up for the Lord to show his power. Okay, that's why Esau has been raised up, man. Esau is the modern day Pharaoh who has been raised up so the Lord, all right, can have a punching bag to show his power, man. Okay, and he's going to show it through his son Yahushua. Verse 17, as yet exaltest thou thyself against my people, that thou would not let them go. Okay, so this devil in his mind, he's just going to keep us in captivity forever. He's just going to wage war with the earth and just completely dominate the earth militarily forever. This is this devil's mindset. Okay, in his mind, he can't be moved. You see? Let's go here. See, the scriptures puts us on game how this devil is thinking, man. And we seen it in his actions. Okay? All right, this is Psalms 10:3 says, for the wicked, okay? Matter of fact, I started at verse 2. It says, Psalms 10:2 said, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined, man. And this is what we pray, that this devil, is taken and ensnared by everything that he's trying to push and put on everyone else, man. Especially when it comes to the tribes, man, especially when it comes to the believers, man. Everything that this devil has on the books and he thinks that he's going to pull off, man. May the Lord take this man and everything that he's imagining to do, man. Let these things work against him, man. Okay? They said, for the wicked boasted of his heart's desire. Okay? And that's why he's constantly boasting in his AI, his central bank digital currency, Agenda 2030. He got this going on and that going on. All right? Because these devils desire, to set up a satanic digital empire, man. Forever, man. Okay? Transhumanism, he's trying to tap into immortality on the left-hand side. Okay? And it says, and bless the covetous whom the Lord abhorred, man. And in this kingdom, okay, all the wealth, okay, flows to, all right, this small percent, okay, of wicked elites of Edom. Okay, so the New World Order is meant for Esau to bless himself, okay, to have, everlasting kingdom on the left-hand side, and where he gets to decide, what families are allowed, to be blessed. And it's the most wicked and vile people within that small circle, man. Okay? It said the wicked through the pride of his countenance would not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts, man. His thoughts is war. He's even want to wage war with Yahushua. That's why he has a space station, man. From you see, from Memphis to the heavenly host, man. This man wants to go to war with everything in between. Okay? It says it says his ways are always grievous, thy judgments are far above out of his sights. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. And this is what we're seeing. Okay, the devil just puffing at everybody, man. You see? So his mindset is just to be this unrelenting, all right, this unrelenting tyrant in the earth, man. Okay, and he just puffed it at everyone else like they're a non-factor. Okay, he said in his heart, he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity, man. Okay, because you're gonna see that these devils are talking bold. What's that nigga Stephen Miller? You know, his little speech he did at the Seakirk funeral, talking big shit. Okay, like they ready for whatever with whoever. That's what Esau is at, man. Okay, this is the mode that this devil is getting into, showing you, hey things are finna change. Okay, and this devil is tired of being mocked in his own kingdom. Okay, and he's tired of trying to be politically correct. The victim narrative is not working anymore. So this devil is finna go with his move with the sword, man. Okay, he's finna speak like a dragon. All right, so let's go here real quick. I got another one. Let's see. I got two more. But let's start off. Yeah. Okay. Because now, there's talks of Esau. Okay. First, you got Venezuela. Okay. Then you got the small hats. Okay. They still genocide in Gaza. Okay. Now they're going back and forth with Yemen. Now Yemen is going back and forth. Okay. Well, Yemen is attacking, U.S. vessels coming through the Red Sea now. Okay. So now Yemen, okay, is back in the mix. You see? Then you have America stationed itself, to aid the small hats in another, attack in the second wave of attacks on Iran. Okay, round 2, as we've been speaking of. Okay. Then you have the EU, okay, and Russia, okay, getting tangled up. Okay, it's going beyond Ukraine with Russia now. So you have all this going on at the same time, and this is what we was warned about. Okay, this is what Yahweh Shah was warning us about, man. So let's play this. We'll expound on it.
Well, make no mistake about it, the United States and Israel, and by the way, I'm going to throw the UK into this mix as well. They often get left out, but they are getting ready for a large-scale war with Iran. According to the Washington Post, and Armin posted this today, Washington Post, the U.S. has set 4 conditions for an agreement with Iran. Number 1, complete stop of uranium enrichment program. 2, restrictions on long-range missiles. End of all support for resistance groups in the region. Direct and unmediated talks with the United States. Now, I thought.
So, yeah, you have, this postal condition U.S. has set for Iran. And Iran not going to agree to that shit. And they know that. Okay, but see, this is them saying, look, we tried to make peace. Okay, and they've constantly shown themselves, all right, to Iran that they can't be trusted. Okay, you have to be a damn fool to go into any agreement, okay, with America and the small hats, man. Okay, so you look at these, stipulations, okay, because really they want to leverage Iran's economy, okay, not allowing Iran to be able to deal, okay, with the West, economically. All right, because Iran has their oil, that the Western powers, need, for their power sector, for the energy sector. Okay, so they want to shut Iran out of the global market, to starve out the government, starve out the people, unless Iran, all right, kisses the ring, and that's not going to happen. Okay, because prophecies say otherwise. So they make up, these one-sided, peace agreements, peace terms, to where these nations have to weaken themselves and be a forever, a servant, okay, under the Western hegemony, man. These nations not doing that anymore, okay, because they know that these devils can't be trusted. There's no compromise. These people are not reasonable. Okay, like I say, they did an airstrike on the negotiation meeting itself. They blew the meeting up. Okay, in Qatar. You see? So here it is. They want these nations, to disarm themselves and just be a punching bag for the West. Okay, where the West can come in and just, scrapulate the resources. Okay, turn the country into a third world. Okay, this is what they want. Put the country in debt to central bank. All right, money system. You see, but nah, man. The Lord guided to where now these nations they have no choice but to take a stand. See, this is the only option they got. See, this is the Lord is making to Iran only got one option. Russia got one option. China got one option. America got one option, man. And that's to get down, man. You see? So let's let it play some more.
We had destroyed all of their nuclear enrichment programs.
We did a victory lap.
We were told this. This came right out of Sean Hannity's mouth after he just got off the phone with President Trump, remember?
I just spoke to the President of the United States. I have some new information and breaking details to share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordow nuclear facility with 6.
Yeah. So 6 bunker busting bombs. It's eliminated. It's set back 30 years, but now suddenly it's back again and we need to go to war with them again. Colonel Douglas Macgregor is warning us all about what's coming in the impending maybe larger scale war that we are about to see. Right from the get-go, Colonel, you've been saying we are heading into phase 2. Phase 2 will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. How soon do you think we're going to hit that point?
I think it's coming sooner rather than later. I think Glenn Greenwald is right. It's a matter of weeks, could even be days. But we're moving a lot of equipment into the region right now. Aircraft, refueling assets, ships. We've rebalanced the missile inventories in the region. So we're very close to being ready. By the way, I assume you're aware of what's happened with the French seizure of a Russian tanker. Are you not?
Yes, but why don't you explain it to us?
Well, I think this is very important because you can't view what happens in Ukraine and what's happening in the Middle East as entirely separate. I think there's a great deal of connectivity. The French decided to board a Russian tanker at sea. That's, of course, illegal. You can't just board a ship with your national armed forces. French military did it. And Macron has said, well, this is to disrupt the Russian business model. We disrupt it by holding on to this tanker full of oil for 2 weeks or so. Then we'll let it go again. And ultimately, as a result, this will harm Russia. Well, frankly speaking, under international law, this is an act of war against Russia. At the same time, the Estonian government is saying that the waterway that comes out of St. Petersburg and empties into the Baltic is now part of their national waters. Actually, it's an international channel that allows Russian vessels to come out of St. Petersburg and move into the Baltic. And they're talking about effectively blockading the Russians inside St. Petersburg. Now, I don't know how they plan to proceed or what they want to use to do that, but the juxtaposition of the two together right now is very dangerous. I don't expect the Russians or President Putin to react instantly with a declaration of war. I'm sure they're putting together their response, but the fact that this is happening strengthens, believe it or not, the case for war in the Middle East. Because one of the things strategically that the neocons want to do, and they're the ones controlling your government, and that includes the Israel lobby, is to tie down as much Russian military power as they can while they proceed in the Middle East against Iran.
So what you have, you got to look at the timing of these things. All right. So Benjamin Netanyahu, all right, he came to the U.S. Monday, okay, to talk to Trump. And that's how the Day of Atonement, the way that these things fell, was very spiritual, because before the eve of the Day of Atonement, you had Benjamin Netanyahu come to America, all right, and sit and talk with Donald Trump. Okay, and you best believe, they were talking about their next move militarily, how they want to deal with Iran. All right, so now remember the French president was just in New York, okay, a couple of days the week prior, before Benjamin Netanyahu had that sit down with Trump, because you had the UN, okay, meeting in New York. Okay, so there's no coincidence that the French president is now, being a pest, to Russian, all right, oil vessels. Okay, because what they want to do is have Russia tied up so they can't help Iran. All right, but they don't understand this big gap between, this last 12-day war, okay, which was months ago. All right, till now, okay, Russia and China have been arming Iran to the teeth. All right, and I got another video that's going to go into that. Okay, but you look at these players that are non-factor. The French. The French can't do a goddamn thing. All right, militarily with nobody. Okay, Estonia. Okay, completely irrelevant. Okay, mall security status. All right, when it comes to military capability. Okay, and they're talking about closing off or blockading, okay, a Russian port, in St. Petersburg, or waterway, that would have Russia locked in St. Petersburg, at that port. Okay, so they're doing, these things, to distract Russia. All right, because there's speculation that they finna go with Iran again, and they know Russia is a major supporter of Iran. Okay, so you have that, factored in. You see, so you have all these, nations getting involved as the plot thickens with this third world war. Let's get a precept, and we'll go back to that video. All right, let him speak on some more. But let's go here to the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. All right. See that ye be not troubled." See, these things don't trouble us. Why? For all these things must come to pass. Okay, this is just a part of the. This is just a phase. All right, this is just a necessary phase. Okay, before, all right, the throne of David is established in the earth. Okay, but the end is not yet. So we're going to constantly go into, these war talks and discuss, what's going on. All right, and the happiness and the movements dealing with these militaries leading up to war. Okay, but there's things that still have to play out. So if they strike Iran, okay, it doesn't mean that the end is going to be a few days after. They're going to go nuclear. They're going to strike Iran. Let's say they strike Iran Wednesday, okay, but then Saturday it's an all-out nuclear war. No. Okay, these things still have to. It has to escalate to that nuclear war. Okay, and then you have other prophecies that have to play out. Okay, but what we see is all prophecies are building up together. Jacob trouble is on the rise. Okay, the vintage shall fail. The nigga woman losing, that's on the rise. Okay, the persecution of the prophets, that's on the rise. Okay, the AI and the digital, the digital ID that they're using, they're implementing in the UK. was just a model, okay, and just another step closer to the MOTB. So all these prophecies, okay, are building up in their own lane, and they all tie together. Okay, so verse 7 said, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom," and this is what we're seeing. All these different players that are involved, okay, in this war. Okay, and he's going to mention some other players which are, mentioned prophetically in the scriptures. It says, "And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places," man. So all these are the birth pains leading up, okay, to the coming of Yahushua. Okay, so let's go back to the video. Uh,
So the fact that this has happened now indicates to me that they're much closer to opening the campaign against Iran than we think.
I asked Glenn Greenwald this question a few minutes ago on the show. I'll ask you the same question. Do you see striking similarities to what we saw in the run-up to the first phase of this war? The media propaganda, the pro-Israel posts from influencers we know as part of this paid campaign. Do you see, from a military perspective, whether it's tankers arriving in Doha, Qatar, all of that, do you see similarities there?
Yeah, there's similarities. The only thing I'd point out, though, and you know this better than I do, is I don't think the influencers for Israel are doing very well. I know that they're being paid something in the neighborhood of $7,000 a pop to put out pro-Israeli statements and observations. But I think public opinion in the United States has turned decisively against Israel. Now, that doesn't make any difference in the short run, because the American people can't pay the people on the Hill or in the White House enough money to derail the pro-Israel bent. But nevertheless, the American people have turned away from it. And even though the members of the House and the Senate are handsomely rewarded financially for their support of Israel, even they have to take notice of what the American people think. So I think that's another reason why Mr. Netanyahu came to visit. It was to check signals, make sure everything was ready, make sure everybody understands what has to happen. He issued his directives, not only to President Trump, but also, I'm told, to some cabinet members. So they're ready to go, and I think they want to get this done, if you want to use that terminology, as quickly as possible before they lose control of events in Washington, because the American people are fed up, I think.
Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend?
And these devils having a hard time, to push their narrative of victimhood, So I'll say there was a time when there was major, public support, for everything that these small hats were doing. They was looked at as victims defending themselves. Okay. But now their narrative is gone. All right. To the point that they're paying people $7,000 a post. Okay. $7,000 a post, man, to push pro-Israeli, propaganda. Okay, but no one's biting it like they used to. You still gonna have your simple, simpletons, okay, that's gonna post a Israeli flag emoji. We stand for Israel, simple as all goddamn hell. Okay, you're gonna have a few simpletons, man. Okay, but there's a major awakening, all right, to these Israelis, all right, and their terror tactics, man. They're being looked at as a monster, man. Everybody ties these goddamn small hats in America, man. Okay, and I'm gonna got another video to show you, that hey, you got people rooting, you got Americans rooting for Iran, man. Show you that is how evil and wicked this regime is, man. Okay, of America and the small hats, man. Okay, so let's play this.
Eve of a government shutdown, The United States announced a $123 million contract to replace the bunker busters that we dropped on Iran. So everyone else is going to go without a paycheck this week, but Boeing is going to get this replacement. Now, something that Glenn Greenwald said a little bit ago on our show was that this pause in the war was for both sides to restock because Israel was low on ammo, the United States was low on ammo. You have said that if the United States was attacked, you've said on this show, we have, I don't know, weeks worth of defense, and then that's it. And so obviously this money laundering scheme is more important than any peace talks or any will of the American people, don't you think?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, the peace talks was always a smokescreen. It was never serious. There's no chance for that 21-point plan to be accepted by anybody, neither the Israelis nor the Palestinians. For the Palestinians, it's sort of willing subjugation to Israeli Jewish dominance and perpetuity. They're not going to sign up for that. And Mr. Netanyahu wants blood. He wants the complete annihilation of the Palestinians, as do his supporters. So there will be no peace settlement. This is you get one of two outcomes ultimately. You either get Israel or you get Palestine. If there's a Palestine, there is no longer an Israel. If you get Israel out of this terrible war that we're about to embark on, there is no Palestine. It's that simple. But I think that what is happening right now with Russia is very important because in people's minds in Washington, this is diverting Russian attention away from the Middle East. Now, you also brought something else up. You said, what are the similarities? There are some differences this time, I'm told. And that is, we're going to see a lot more gravity bombs. That is, bombs that may have the precision kits on them, but you're talking about bombs that have to be delivered by fighter bombers, various kinds of aircraft at much closer to Iranian air defenses than in the past. We also are going to rely, I'm told, very heavily on old Tomahawk missiles. In other words, missiles that have been in the inventory for some time. And then we will dip into the precious reserves that we have involving SM-6 Standard missiles, the THAAD missile, and other more rare commodities, but extraordinarily valuable and important. So it's not exactly the same because we cannot bring everything to this that we did the last time.
I mean, last time it lasted whatever it was, 12 days. People went back to their corners, got refilled. They got, you had Mickey there cutting the eyes and getting everything kind of set up like in Rocky. We're all good to go. And now we're back again. I mean, are we talking like a devastation here? Or are we talking like another 12-day sort of pinprick and then we all go back and we all go back to this theater?
That depends heavily, I would say, on Iran's response. Last time, believe it or not, the Iranians exercised a lot of restraint. If they exercise restraint this time around, I'd be surprised. I rather suspect that they will employ whatever they've got. My great concern is, as the damage is sustained in Israel, the demand for the use of a nuclear weapon against Iran will be enormous. The other possibility is that this time Egypt, the Turks, may not sit this out. There is the outside possibility, the Egyptians in particular, may decide that they can no longer take the hit. They've got to fight. The Turks are being pushed to the edge. Erdogan wants to play both sides to the middle. He's done that very well. But if you listen carefully to the statements he's made recently, it sounds as though the Turks are ready to finally play the cards and show us what they hold. We'll see. Remember, you've got this Saudi-Paki alliance that was created. And all of these states right now have the backing of China. And when I say backing, I'm talking about not just military assistance, but also financial. That's very important to the Turks, very important to the Egyptians. And of course, the Saudis and the Pakis are very interested in that financial backing as well. But the Pakistanis bring nuclear weapons technology to the fight. And the Pakistanis have made it very clear that their bomb is an Islamic bomb. In other words, if their brothers in the Middle East need the weapon, they will have it.
Yeah, man. So things can get interesting these next few days, man. Whether it's the next few days or next, couple of weeks. There's a lot of anticipation to see, what these small hats in America, all right, in America is going to do, in Iran, all right. But this second round, you best believe it's going to be more fireworks than the first round, because that 12 days, there was a hell of a back and forth, all right, which Iran, was getting the ups, okay, and Tel Aviv was getting their ass pummeled, okay. So now you're gonna have these months, okay, a recess between both nations, and all right, what both nations have, all right, been working on. And he said that what Turkey, could be a factor, okay, with this one. So let's get this in prophecy, man. Okay, and then I got one more video to go into. All right, this is the book of Ezekiel 38, but he said Turkey could get involved with this one. And that's going to be a major game changer, man, because Turkey has a formidable, conventional military, okay, and where they're placed right there by, the Middle East, and Europe, okay, that's going to be a major game changer, okay, for Russia and Iran, okay, but that alliance is spoken of, okay, in the scriptures, man. Ezekiel 38:4 says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. All right. And this is speaking of Russia, and will bring thee forth. Okay. And what you seeing now, Russia been, at war with Ukraine. Okay. These last few years. All right. But now, all right, they're being poked by these other European nations. All right. And that's the Lord putting hooks in the jaws of Russia to continue to come forth. Okay, to march their way, okay, west, man. Okay, and it says in all the it says in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling their swords, man. Yeah, man. So it's Salaki. So it's going to be a major, okay, invasion. All right, from the east coming to the west, man. Okay, a lot of military hardware. Okay, going to their region of Jehoshaphat, man. Okay, where it's really going to go down. All right, that's the region where who Yahweh Shai is going to show up. Verse 5 says Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya. All right, these African nations that are in alliance, with Russia. It says, all right, with Ethiopia and Libya, they're at the forefront of that. It says all of them with shield and helmet, which means they're going to have a defense. Okay, and Russia is known for their missile defense systems, man. Okay, but these nations, they're going to have all right tools to be a factor in this war. Okay, it says Gomar, which is Turkey, and all his bands, the house of Togomar. All right, speaking of Turkey as well, of the North Quarters and all of his bands, and many people with thee, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them, man. All right, so Russia, okay, is the chief of this alliance. All right, this conglomerate of nations that's going to come against this beast system, man. Okay, you see, and America and these EU nations, all right, with their their cronies, okay, out there, all right, in the land of Israel, the IDF, okay, they're going to be overwhelmed by this conglomerate of nations, all right, that the Lord is putting together, okay, to take down the West, all right, and Yahweh Shai is coming to take down them all, but so we'll see what Turkey do on this round. It's going to be interesting, man. This one here is going to be interesting. This back and forth, man. We could see some heavy, and we could see some heavy punches being landed in this one, man. So let's go here. I got one more. So this is going to go into how you can tell, the Lord, has shifted Iran, to be more dependent, and to be more, all right, inclusive, okay, of his military strategy with, Iran and China. All right, so let's play this.
Utterly inconsequential in doing anything about it, and yet claimed that we had won. So the empire looks feckless, stupid, ignorant, and incapable of even taking on this small group of terrorists in Yemen.
And we said the empire, he's speaking of America, which America is catching hell, with the Houthis. The Houthis are able, to be, a deterrence, okay, and a hindrance unto America in the Red Sea.
Terrorists, I use guardedly.
Right. Yeah. You would have gotten the chat.
I've been corrupted. I've been corrupted by Hegseth. The south side of Chicago is full of terrorists, according to Trump and Hegseth.
Right. Or everywhere, all the U.S. cities. Larry, you're to you back to you, Larry Johnson.
And before that, I want to show y'all this guy Pete Hegseth. Okay, I want to show you this clown. All right, and this is the Department of War Secretary. Okay, Secretary of War. Well, used to be Secretary of Defense. Now he's the Secretary of War. Now let's show you that America is a goddamn clown show, man. Okay, so let's listen to this guy here, and he's gonna go into this clip, this snippet. All right, from Pete Hegseth. All right, when they was at the Quantum, all right, military meeting out there in Virginia. Okay, so let's play this real quick.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's your host, Danny Haifong. We have a big show for you today, so please hit that like button as you come on to boost the stream and the algorithm. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to talk about Pete Hegseth's warning to U.S. adversaries, FAFO. This was the warning the Secretary of War sent to so-called U.S. adversaries in front of a crowd of 800 generals and admirals in Conoco, Virginia, during a much-hyped rare emergency meeting. The warning, though, has been spurned worldwide. Yemen is resuming attacks on U.S. ships affiliated with the largest energy corporations in the world, such as Chevron and ExxonMobil. Russia is recruiting harder and faster to confront any NATO escalation coming its way. And Oreshniks are moving to Belarus any second now, should Trump make good on his Tomahawk threat. And as the U.S. sends tankers to Qatar in a fresh escalation against Iran, Iran is warning that the U.S. should not push its luck in a war against it. To discuss all of this and more, I have with me great friends of the show, former CIA analyst Larry Johnson and former chief of staff to the U.S. State Department and retired Army Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Gentlemen, good to see you again.
Hi there. Hey, Danny.
Hey. Great to be with you. Everyone hit the like button once again. That helps boost this stream. Now, let's first begin with some not so well-covered news at the moment, but we're going to open it with these infamous words now from Pete Hegseth, his warning to so-called quote-unquote U.S. adversaries at this disastrous speech that he gave in front of 800 generals and admirals in Virginia.
To our enemies, FAFO. If necessary,
So I only wanted to play that because he paused for effect. There was no real response. That was there's 800 people plus in that room, generals and admirals. They didn't respond very kindly to that.
So, real quick, what you had with this guy, Pete Hegseth, so as he addressing his generals, he told them, to anyone that wants to test, Americans military, he said FAFO, which that's, terminology or slang, okay, social media slang for F around and find out. Okay, so here it is. He's talking to these military top leaders, who are 50 plus years old. Okay, maybe some even in their 60s. All right, and he's telling them FAFO. All right, and like they said, he paused because he thought he was going to get some response, and you heard crickets, man. All right, and you best believe it's a lot of these generals that ain't with this shit that they own, man, because this shit is illegal. Most of the shit that America is doing, their military, is completely illegal. And see, these generals, they know. Okay, a lot of them juiced in, and of course they now, with Freemasons to a point. But you always have those, certain ones, man, that go rogue and ain't with it, man. Okay, so I just did a quick search on this guy, Pete Hegseth. All right, and this is the the Secretary of War. All right, formerly the Secretary of Defense. All right, so when you go into this guy, just show you that this is, this is just a stage, man. Okay, so it says Peter Brian Hegseth. All right, look at this nigga like a demon. It says is an American author, former television personality. Former television personality, just like who? Donald Trump. Okay, these guys are just puppets. Okay, they don't know what the hell is going on. This man can't go to war and lead no military, man. Okay, but he's the head. He's the Secretary of War. He don't know how it go with boots on the ground. It says a former Army National Guard officer, man. Okay, how the hell is a former National Guard officer? Okay, is the Secretary of War. Okay, it says who has served since 2025 as the 29th United States Secretary of Defense. Now, when you go into it, it says Hegseth studied, okay, at Princeton University. So he's in one of these secret societies. Okay, where he was the publisher of the Princeton Troy, a conservative student newspaper. Okay, a conservative student newspaper. In 2003, he was commissioned as an infantry officer in the Minnesota Army National Guard, serving at Guantanamo Bay Naval Base and deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, it was something else. All right. Now, listen to this guy. It said in November 2024. All right. Matter of fact, because he's one of these white nationalists. Okay, he's like a C. Kirk, and it says in November 2024, President-elect Trump named Hegseth as nominee for Secretary of Defense in the Senate Committee on Armed Services hearing days before Trump's inauguration. Hegseth faced allegations of sexual misconduct, financial mismanagement, and excessive drinking. Hegseth was confirmed by the Senate that month with Vice President J.D. Vance casting a tie-breaking vote, man. So these are the people, straight degenerates, man, that's at the head of your armed forces in America, man. Okay? Giving these speeches, okay, to these these seasoned military vets, man. So they don't respect that nigga. That's why he didn't get no response. Okay? When he talking about FAFO. F around and find out, man. Like he's some goddamn teenager typing, okay, a social media post, man. Okay? A complete joke, man. All right? So let's go back here. I'm gonna fast forward to the video. Okay. It's about the 11-minute mark. I just wanted to play that. So let's go here to about the 11-minute mark. So let's hear Larry Johnson speak about what's been happening, since, the last, 12-day war, all right, with Iran and the small hats.
the Trump administration in Israel have no capacity and capabilities to quote unquote finish their conflicts, their wars against Yemen, against the Palestinian people even, and yet there's talk about even more war. How do you see this playing out? Not necessarily a crystal ball, but just the scenario of the U.S. getting deeper and deeper into war, and now Yemen saying it's going to escalate, given everything that the U.S. has done up until this point.
Sort of like watching a perverse frat party where all of the frat boys are completely three shits to the wind, drunk. They get their car keys, they all go out and get into the cars and drive off. You know there's going to be a crash, okay? And that's what I'm looking at right now. There's going to be a crash. There is too much war talk, not just with respect to Iran, but in Ukraine with Russia, and in Venezuela, and in Gaza. I mean, it's like this. It's like an infection, or some sort of mass sickness that has taken hold of the world. So, and there's a private part of me, particularly with respect to Israel, that I hope they do it because they're going to get their ass kicked. And I do want to see the Zionists get their ass kicked, dramatically so.
Everybody tired of you niggas, man. So this is American. I think he's ex-CIA. So he's seen some things. Okay? But you have Americans rooting for Iran. Okay? And he said he hopes that these small hats engage with Iran again because he know that Iran gonna mop the floor with these small hats, man. Okay? So he's saying it's a part of him that want these niggas to crash out. Okay? And engage with Iran directly again. Okay? So let's play this a little more. You see?
Too much war talk, not just with respect to Iran, but in Ukraine with Russia, and in Venezuela, and in Gaza. I mean, it's like this. It's like an infection, or some sort of mass sickness that has taken hold of the world. So, and there's a private part of me, particularly with respect to Israel, that I hope they do it because they're going to get their ass kicked. And I do want to see the Zionists get their ass kicked, dramatically so. That's the only thing that's going to stop the genocide. We've already seen that the vast majority of countries in the world are content to let this murder go on. They may make some statements saying, "Oh, we think that's really bad," but they actually don't do anything that they're capable of doing, such as shutting down commerce, closing down the embassy. Now, I do give the president of Colombia credit. He threw the Israelis out yesterday. They'll shut down the whole delegation. Basically, he told them, out of our country. We don't want you here anymore. Good.
Sound familiar? Everyone's hyping AI coding. You try Cursor, but it just doesn't live up to the hype in your real code base. Here's why. So I have Cursor on my right.
That's a start. If 150 countries did that, then maybe Israel would start getting the message that it can't continue to be this murderous group of thugs that they have been. It is clear that Iran learned some lessons from that 12-day war, which started on June 13th, concluded with this, Kabuki theater bombing of Qatar, of Al Udeid Air Force Base in coordination with the United States, lifting some sanctions on Iran. But prior to that, the Iranians had been a little chary in terms of their relationships with Russia and China. I mean, they were friendly, but they'd essentially rebuffed offers of strong military support. I don't know if it's one of those Excedrin commercial moments. This is way before your time, but there used to be a commercial in the 60s where this woman had a headache and her mother was trying to talk to her, and she'd go, "Mother, please, I'd rather do it myself." That was a little bit like Iran. We'd rather do it ourselves. Let us figure this out. Well, they realized that they need some help, that, they'll get by with a little help from their friends. And the Russian and Chinese have been pouring in substantial resources, military resources, technical resources, human resources to support that, so that Iran is much, much better prepared now for the next round that's going to come. And I would argue that the West is far less prepared, because already, 50% of all U.S. THAAD missile batteries, the terminal high altitude air defense systems, 50% of those are deployed in Israel right now. We only produce 50 missiles a year. Maybe it's up to 70 now. But when you consider the fact that you fire 2 of those at a cost of $13 million apiece at every inbound hypersonic Iranian missile that those THAADs can intercept, you rapidly deplete them. And so what we're going to see in this next go round is a much more rapid depletion of Israel's air defense system.
Yeah.
So the second round gonna be interesting, man. So just like Rome, spread itself too thin. All right, America is doing the same thing. Okay, so America, and the small hats are pretty much waging war. Okay, with the earth. Okay, and it's not gonna turn out the way that they think, man. Okay, so let's get this, man. So we'll just be on the watch for that, man. So don't be surprised, in the coming days you get breaking news of an Israeli attack on Iran, okay, or an American, first strike, attack on Iran. These things are possible, okay, and it's all playing into everything that we need to happen, okay, for the kingdom to come, for Yahushua to come and conquer the earth and righteousness, man. All these militaries of the earth, okay. But this next round gonna be heavy, and you best believe Iran, all right, China and Russia, okay, have equipped Iran with some tools, okay. So what they sent to Tel Aviv this time, all right, because even what they were sending last time, because Iran has, a hell of an arsenal of itself, But like Larry Johnson said, Iran realized, like, look, we're gonna need some help, So they are now for sure scrapped down, okay. And what they gonna send to Tel Aviv this time, all right, is gonna be on a different caliber, man. Okay, so we'll see. It's interesting times. Like I said, you can tell, the Lord had us doing this atonement right in the midst of this, man. That's how you know this is what the Lord wanted. Even though, the new moons was off, technically, but spiritually it was right on time. Okay. It says Zephaniah 3:8, therefore wait ye upon me, said the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. You see, because all we have to do is teach, man. Okay, we don't have to, come up with a military strategy, okay, of how, to take down this beast system. No, the Lord is rising up to the prey. Okay, we're just to teach and get the minds of our people ready for their time. Okay, he said, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy, man. Okay, so the Lord is putting this thing together. He's assembling these nations and assembling these different alliances and these conflicts, okay, so it can all end with the Lord sending Yahweh Shabbat, okay, to pour out his anger on all these nations, man, okay, and to take the authority from all these nations, man, okay. But what we're seeing, the first phase of it is America is finna walk into this trap, okay, with these small hats and be obliterated, okay. So that was the point, Lord will. All right. You brothers and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful Shalom.